This is the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast, and on this episode, Mike Reilly and Mike Ferrante revisit the topic of property managers, wholesalers, the importance of having a property manager before buying a property, and more.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Reilly, and with me is my fellow amigo in the real estate world, Mike Ferrante. Mike, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Mike. Good to see you.
All right.
Figuratively.
Hey, figuratively. A couple things in our podcast today. First, I want to revisit people requesting property managers because we're getting a lot of phone calls the last couple months. We're directing people to our podcast on property managers, but I thought I would just summarize a few things. So, Mike, I'd like you to kind of chirp in, your thoughts. But the first thing I've noticed with a lot of people who call in is that they have homes that are really unrentable. Duplexes in sketchy neighborhoods, houses that really are away from the action. I'm talking about places that are miles away from the Cleveland medical community or the universities. They're just out in Nowheresville. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'd love to start by saying a little quote, and this is a Mike Ferrante original. I say that the manager is the gas that goes in the tank that makes the engine go. So you could have a great property, you could have a bad property, whatever, but if you have bad management in place, the car isn't going anywhere. So that's what I mean by that. It is such a key, and it's one of the things that a lot of investors miss the boat on. But certainly what you're talking about is location, which, as we know, the three most important things in real estate: location, location, location. I think there's a lot to be said for picking a property that's in the right location for whatever it is that your goal is, because it makes everything easier.
Right. Well, I would make some amends to that, which would be we want to make sure the horse is in front of the cart. And what I've noticed is people have already bought the property and then they go looking for a property manager.
Oh, what a mistake.
And so I don't want people to think that Reilly Properties are property managers. We are property financial planners. You come to us and you will, and we charge a consulting fee for this, but we will direct you into the areas that are not only stable and rentable, but have a good upside in terms of appreciation over the next couple of years. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and some kind of intrinsic value. I love how you identify areas that have some sort of intrinsic value, so that you're finding the gold nuggets. You could go panning for gold for a long time, but the gold nuggets are few and far between. And Mike, the other thing, I know you tooting your own horn isn't necessarily your thing, but one thing I'll say about you and how you're different than these turnkey real estate investment providers is that in a lot of cases, these turnkey providers, they provide the property and then they wash their hands of it. You stay involved with your clients through thick and thin. They buy a property with your help, and you're there to help them maintain it. Now, obviously, that's for a fee. That's one of the businesses you're in is home maintenance. You are the home mechanics, if I can coin that, use that phrase that you've coined. But you're there right by their side through their investment, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I think what I'm have developed over the last couple of years is that this whole concept of investment managers. We're almost running a closed fund here where we're not taking everybody and anybody, which I think a lot of property managers are more volume oriented.
That's right.
And, really, you'll wake up and find that they're not real proactive. It's almost like you're going to Schwab and you're your own. I mean, yeah, Schwab will buy the stock for you, but Schwab's not going to be there and direct you into overbought stocks or warn you that the market's about to crash because, the virus is coming. They're not going to do that. And most property managers are not proactive that way. We have developed a model where our job is to get you a return on investment over 5 years, period. That's why you're buying real estate. You're not buying real estate to be a mogul here or strut around somewhere in California or Australia or England and say, oh yeah, I'm a landowner in the United States, or I bought property in Cleveland. What does that mean? You know what? You might have bought garbage in Cleveland. Why don't you just say that?
Yeah.
So the whole key is to make sure that you are making a return on your money. And so when we're talking to these people calling in, they have to go through some gauntlets before they get to the place where we're actually doing consulting. And that's what this podcast, at least the front end of this, is about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say, stated another way, your objective is not to make another sale, to add another horse to the stable. Your objective is to find the people who are a good fit for your program, and again, sit with them side by side through the period of their investment. So they're not just a number. You've got this small sort of elite group of clients that you work with almost like a partner,
Right.
not a literal partner, but that's how things are different. And I've seen management companies that started in the early 2000s or late 2000s when this boom started happening, and they've grown so big that, much to my disappointment, their service has gone from pretty good to pretty bad. And that's what happens when, in some cases, I don't want to bash all property managers, but what I've seen in general happen is that as these management companies get bigger and bigger and bigger, as will happen with a big company, the service gets worse and worse.
Right. Well, I think it's almost like a restaurant business. We have a very small niche restaurant, very good food, very good service, but we're not franchising that. We're sticking to our knitting. We're evolving this business in a quality manner. Now,
Yep.
one thing that has changed in the last couple months, and this is very interesting. We've been working with this one LA group that is a wholesaler, and for those who don't know what wholesalers are, I mean, these groups will flock around a town like Cleveland, and they'll buy up properties and hold them for like 30 days. And then they'll try to just flip the title to another person and make a fast profit. They're actually selling the title. They're not selling a developed property. They've been able to pry a property loose, beat it down, buy it on short sale, and then they will then offer that same property within a 30-day period, and maybe with a 10-20% upside. Do you want to describe what wholesalers are from your angle?
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, I want to also add to that sometimes wholesalers don't even take title to a property. So I know there's a little bit of or maybe a lot of a negative connotation that's going to come with this analogy I'm going to make, but you know how we love our analogies. In many cases, wholesalers are a lot like used car dealers. They will buy something as cheap as they can and then sell it for as much as they can. And their whole business is premised upon that margin. So to add on to what you said, not only are they sometimes holding the properties and then flipping them in 30 days or less, doing little or no work to them, in some cases they don't even take title to the property. So they get a contract on a property, and during that time before closing, they're shopping that property in hopes that while they got it for 50, they can find someone else to pay them 60 or 70 or 80 for it, and they never actually take title to the property. They're making their money on striking the deal with the owner, who in many cases is distressed and just looking for a quick out, some quick cash, and that's where they're often making their profit margin.
Now, here is where I think there's some value in working with these wholesalers, because, and let me switch up your used car model analogy, because one of the things that has frustrated me is that we will see a property in Cleveland Heights near one of our own rentals, or in Shaker, especially, but more in Cleveland Heights. And there's an abandoned vacant house across the street from ours. In fact, I have a couple of those houses. Just drive me crazy, driving the neighbors crazy. And the house just sits there. It sits there vacant because of whatever, the taxes, the county and the city don't have their act together, and it's just sitting there. These wholesalers, well, the ones that we've been working with, have the ability to go in and pry these to the marketplace. allowing for somebody to actually buy them. And that's where I'm noticing the value is.
Sure. Yeah,
Go
and a
ahead,
lot of them are just
elaborate on that.
yeah. So what a lot of them are doing is they're identifying these properties, distressed or otherwise, maybe properties that didn't sell, maybe properties that have different notices filed on them, notice of foreclosures filed on them, tax delinquent, and so they are digging these properties up and bringing them to market, which of course is a positive in neighborhoods. So I didn't want to make it sound like everything about wholesalers is negative, but there you also have to know who you're dealing with. It's a little different dealing with Reilly Properties or Mike Ferrante, Cleveland Realtor, than dealing with a wholesaler. It's just a different type of transaction. But certainly they're out there proactively digging these properties up, mailing letters, making phone calls, and it's something that the average person doesn't have the time or ability to do. So I think that's kind of where you were going with that.
Right, but you know what's ironic about it? It's not that the average person doesn't have the time to do it, which we all agree on, but the city doesn't have the
Of
city
course.
doesn't have the manpower or the ability to spend on getting 100 of these foreclosures taken care of. They're overwhelmed now.
Yeah.
Um,
We've seen that firsthand with Cleveland Heights. How many times have you approached them about a property and they say, yeah, we know, and then they do nothing about it? Not because I'm sure they don't want to, but like you said, they don't have the manpower or time. Their plates are full with inspections and all the other day-to-day tasks that they're doing.
Right, exactly. And I think what's interesting about it, and I hope I can say this the right way, so listeners can understand, but here's where we're starting to develop a bridge. The wholesaler does not want rental income properties. They want to flip the title.
That's
That's
right.
what they're in. They're not interested in return on investment. Yeah, they'll say, yeah, well, we're looking at it, maybe. No, come on. And I've talked to one of my guys in LA about this. Just tell me what you want. All right. You want to flip this contract before you even own it. Right. And so, but I would be interested in buying that property. Make it easy for you. You do the heavy lift for me and get that house across the street from my property to me. Get it to me. Then I can then either take that and develop it for my own portfolio, or I can then flip it to one of our investors, and everybody wins. Because I've had some conversations 3 times in the last two or 3 weeks. I've talked to some people who have inquired about our property manager services, and they're all the same. They bought some dump in a bad neighborhood, and I've told them flat out, you've got to sell this. The market's hot. There's some knucklehead investor out there who will buy you out. You make a nice little flip profit, but get out of that. Get out of that and let us show you a property that you can buy and fix up across the street from ours. Now everybody wins, because if that vacant house across the street from me, where we're cutting the lawn just to take some of the sting out of it, if that gets fixed up, all boats on that street rise.
That's right.
Everybody,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the other thing about the locations that we're talking about, everyone knows that the Cleveland market, the investment properties that people are buying, they're buying for cash flow. That said, right now we're seeing appreciation in certain neighborhoods that is unprecedented. Typically, we're a market where there's 0 to 3% appreciation per year, but in certain locations, we're seeing 5 to 10% appreciation per year. So not only can you be hitting a home run with cash flow, but if you're finding the right locations, you're also making the long-term gain on the appreciation.
Right, but you have to know where the action is. Cleveland has pockets that are just white hot now. And sometimes they're so white hot that the appreciation is done with. It's already overbought. But there are pockets, again, my neighborhood of Forest Hill, that Forest Hill neighborhood, the word's starting to get out. That's the next Tremont. That's the next Ohio City, where those areas have already they've already run their course. Now maybe areas that are adjoining Tremont, as it pushes out around it, is enjoying an upside because people want to be close to Tremont or they want to be close to Little Italy. So you're seeing that push out. But there are neighborhoods right now, I mean, like the Kensington Lee area where my niece lives, and we have some other young, that is becoming a millennial hotspot because it's walking distance to take out food, coffee shops. It's close to University Circle. You've got a lot of residents moving there. So you've got to know, when you're investing in Cleveland, where to be and when to be there to catch both ends, both the appreciation and the cash flow on the rents. Because if it's a hot area, that you're going to get renters in there, and they're going to pay a premium to rent. So you're going to get a double hit there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It reminds me, and I think I've told this story to you before, but the quick synopsis was the guy from Australia that I met who told me, hey, Mike, I own these 5 properties. Can you check them out? And I told him, and I said, wow, these are some pretty tough areas. The houses are in pretty bad shape. How did you come to buy these? And he said, well, I saw the prices and saw the write-up on them, and I thought, how could I lose?
Right.
And this guy lost his shirt.
Right.
How he lost, but wrong areas, poor properties, bad advice, and the guy lost his shirt.
Right. Well, we're going to start instituting some new protocols for people, because I'm walking a fine line, because on the one hand, I don't want to turn away business. I don't want to get a reputation as somebody who's, difficult to work with, which I'm not. I'm not difficult to work with, but I am somebody who's going to tell it like it is. So I'm telling people that are calling now, hey, check out this property. No, the meter's running. We have
the difference is, Mike, if they want someone who's just going to tell them what they want to hear, that's not you.
Right.
And it's not me either.
Right.
I have people say, hey, Mike, I want to sell this property for $130,000. And I could say, sure, I'll take that listing and put my sign in the yard. And, but that's not us. I'm going to tell them, sorry, you paid too much for that. It's worth 100. Do you still
Right.
want to sell it? And that's a literal conversation I had this week.
Right. We've got a minimum charge of 150 for the first hour. And we can do a lot for that 150. That's going to be money well spent for any investor. Get them on the phone, get them on a Zoom, share the screen. All right, where are you looking at? Don't buy that. You've already bought it, sell it, get rid of it. That's what you're going to get. That is going to be money well spent. And then after that, it's 150 an hour for consulting. We can get them into a good, some good real estate. And then we can manage it, and we can lay out the expenses, which for new investors who want to play real estate mogul, this is where they crash into the rocks. It's like they're surfing. They're all excited about surfing in real estate, and all of a sudden they hit these hidden shoals that they didn't see. For example, how much is it going to cost to get this house functional? What is the projected repairs that are going to come down the line? I have people that are just shocked that they've got to spend maybe upwards of $2,000 a year on repairs. Hey, the dishwasher is going to go. All of a sudden you wake up and the furnace is bad. Well, if you're going to buy a property, you better do your due diligence and understand not only what you have to do to get this house in a rentable shape, but do an X-ray, do a time machine look at what's going to be happening down the road in the next year. And this is where we can add some value.
I love that, Mike. Because the other thing that a lot of people don't think about are those capital expenditures. So I love that analogy. Things like driveways, roofs, furnaces, those don't last forever. So
dishwasher, washer and dryer. I mean, really.
Yeah. So having in mind, hey, I've got to replace this roof in 3 years. That's important, because if you haven't been budgeting for that, suddenly you put a $8,000 roof on a house and bam, there's your profit for the year.
Right.
So if you're not prepared for that, that's a big kick in the teeth.
Right. Good. Okay. Hey, listen, good recap. We're gonna cut this down. Amari's going to edit it, and we're going to just put this up and start sending this out to anybody looking for property manager or looking to work with both you and me about buying investment property. So again, Mike Ferrante, give me your little plug here, Century 21.
Century 21 Homestar, 21 Mike Team, your one-stop shop for buying and selling.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Mike, enjoy your day. And folks, we've got another podcast coming up later in the week about how to sell your house and take advantage of this hot real estate market. So until then, wear your mask, wash your hands, do your mouthwash, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast. Find more episodes at Reilly-Properties.com, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you enjoy listening to podcasts.